Those that are here for the first time. I'm Fr Patricio Rodriguez. I'm with the Schoenstatt Fathers. We are a religious community dedicated to serve and work apostolically for the Schoenstatt movement. We're not diocesan priests, who serve and care with so much love to our parishes, but as we have the Franciscans or the Salesians or the Dominicans that serve their religious communities. As Schoenstatt Fathers, we serve every Schoenstatt shrine around the world. There's more than 200 shrines in all the continents, and we as Schoenstatt Fathers, together with the Schoenstatt Sisters and the ladies of Schoenstatt, we are serving the Schoenstatt communities and lay people all around the world. And I had the joy and the honor to serve with Couples Time Out for many years, since the very beginning of Couples Time Out. I remember when we were discerning about the name that we would use for these meetings, and we thought that Time Out made a lot of sense for this kind of time that we spent together. And so I worked with the couples of Schoenstatt here in Austin, also in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and in Houston. And a year ago, I was asked by my community, after we opened our house in Washington, D.C., and Fr Jesus, who was working here in the shrine and at the University of Texas, they asked me to take his work. So right now, I'm the director of the shrine and the priest that is serving here the shrine most of the time, and also working with the Schoenstatt University men at UT in Austin, the University of Texas here in Austin. So I'm trying to become a Longhorn, learning more about what it means to be a Longhorn. And my dear friends, I'm very happy to be asked today to work with you all in this very special and beautiful topic that is the resurrected love. The resurrected love that has to make us understand the reality of the resurrection and how that reality of the resurrection becomes alive in each one of us. And it needs to become alive in each one of us, because otherwise the resurrection of the Lord wouldn't have any sense, wouldn't have any meaning. The Lord didn't resurrect for us to have masses on Easter Sunday. He didn't go through the cross, the tomb, and the resurrection for us to have a liturgy. He went through the tomb and the resurrection for us to have eternal life, for us to go to heaven, for us to discover the reality of the love of God for each other. That's why the best way of honoring the resurrection of the Lord, together with the liturgy, is with the liturgy of everyday life, with the liturgy of a beautiful and holy life of marriage, with the liturgy of caring our children and grandchildren, with the liturgy of our married life together, in every aspect of our life, both physical, emotional, and spiritual. That is the liturgy of everyday life in which we honor also the Lord and His resurrection. So the first thing is that we have to allow the resurrection to become real life for each one of us. Not something that is just up there, in the theological world, in the world of just spirituality, but a spirituality that becomes part of our day, of our everyday life. And the meaning of the resurrection, and I'm glad that Mac and Jessica talked about how everything is blooming too. If you saw the blue bonnets and the cherry blossoms out, northern in the country, you see that everything is blooming now. And that says a lot about what the resurrection of the Lord means for each one of us. And that means renewal. The life begins again. During the winter, everything went away. The leaves, the trees, the plants, they kind of decay, they kind of disappear. The beauty, the green of, our world, our gardens, our nature. But it's back. It's back again. Flowers are back again. The trees have new green leaves. And the green of the leaves that are blossoming right now is completely different. It's much stronger. It's much deeper. And I think that makes the sense of the life that is born again. So I think the first image of the resurrection for the resurrected love for us is we need to be renewed. And that's why we come to Couples Time Out. And remember that with Couples Time Out, we are invited to be renewed daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. Daily, in our daily prayer, we need to renew our married life through praying every single day together. Because we do so many things for each other. but most of them are just practical. You know, I can put gas in your car, we gotta pay the credit card, we gotta pay for schools, we gotta pay for the HEB, you know, we do so many practical things for each other. But when we pray before we go to bed, or when we take an extra 5 minutes to pray before we go to work, or we go out to our activities every single day, it's a reminder that we are together for a higher reason than just doing grocery shopping, cars, and putting children through school. We are together because God wanted us to be together. He thought us together from all eternity. We renew ourselves weekly by Sunday Mass, but also by taking time to enjoy together. I'm sure that Mac and Jessica, through all their project of renovation of their home, they had to have some time to just, have fun, do something fun together, go out and have dinner. We have to explore also the natural friendship of us as a couple. Monthly, what we're doing today, having a spiritual talk. We need to talk about our spiritual life. Father Kentenik also in this Monday evening talks, he talked about how the couple, we are each other's spiritual directors. And how am I going to be your spiritual director if I don't have a clue what's going on in your heart and in your soul? We need to talk about spiritual life. We got to allow ourselves to be open to each other, to be vulnerable to each other, so we can help ourselves spiritually too. Because remember that the first commitment that you made to each other when you were sitting in front of the altar and said, yes, I do, is to take each other to heaven. You don't need to be married in the church to, pay for each other's bill, or to, put food on the table, or to, do practical things for each other. You don't need to be married in the church. You don't need to even to be married, legally. You can just live together and do the same things. So what brings us apart from just being together and living together and doing practical things for each other? That we are committed and decided to be accountable in front of God to take each other to heaven. So how are we doing in that sense? How am I doing in this month in our taking you to heaven? And not just by the patience and martyrdom of, just surviving our life together. On the contrary, it has to do more with the call of Pope Francis to be glad and rejoice. How are we helping each other to take the best out of our lives together? How are we helping each other to make you blossom in your spiritual life? Not trying to make you accountable in the things that are annoying me or hard for me, but how am I helping you gratefully and graciously to help you grow in your spiritual life? So it's all about renewal. And annually, hopefully, we can have at least half a day where we can have a kind of a retreat together as a couple to check on our year. But we need to be renewed. And that's the first aspect of resurrection. Resurrection is renewal. So when you see the blue bonnets, when you see the cherry blossoms, when you see the beautiful flowers that are blossoming in your backyard, think about your marriage. And think about what concrete things have you done to renew your marriage this year. The second aspect of resurrection is the beauty of the Holy Triduum. If you attend to the liturgies of the Holy Triduum, from Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and then the Easter Sunday, either the Vigil or the Day Mass, we go from the darkness of the tomb, after the Last Supper, towards the light of the resurrection. And it's so strong, the reading of the Passion, both in Palm Sunday, that opens the Holy Week, and then in Holy Friday again. The Passion of the Lord is such a dark moment of silence, like the whole world stops. It stops and we realize it's so strong, the feeling of Saturday, Holy Saturday, all the tabernacles are empty. We go into church, it would happen to me when we empty the shrine, and the tabernacle was open, was empty. You don't do a genuflection because there's no Blessed Sacrament there. There's nothing to bow in front of. There's nothing to salute. The light of the tabernacle is off. The Lord is God. There's no consecrated host in the whole world. And that brings us to a kind of an abandonment that at the end of the day is good because it makes us be thirsty and hungry for the presence of the Lord. And what does that tell us in our resurrected love as a couple? That there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It's not always going to be constructors and builders and plumbers in our home. It's not always going to be a hard time when we're having a miscommunication. It's not always going to be the hardship of, having a hard time or a depression after our giving birth to one of our children. It's not always going to be the crisis that come when we turn 40, when we turn 50. It seems to be like every 10 years that we go into a big one. But it's not always going to be dark. Even if it seems that there's no solution, even if it seems that we're not getting anywhere, even if it seems that we lost every ability to communicate with each other, even if it seems that we're always getting and stepping into each other's toes, and sometimes we are just bringing negative things to each other, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And we believe that not because we believe in God, because we believe in ourselves, but because we believe in God. If it were up to us, we would always fail miserably in trying to stay together, because we don't have the strength, we don't have the power, we don't have the graces to do something so big and so spiritual as it is the Catholic matrimony. But why do we believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel? Because we believe in God. And we believe that only with Him we can receive the graces we need to fulfill this mission. The mission to take each other to heaven, the mission to bring up our family, the mission to give you the best of me, to give you as a gift the best of my spirituality. So always remember that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Nothing is dark enough against the Lord's resurrection. Not the tomb, not the Roman Empire, not the rock, not the soldiers. Nothing was strong enough to cover the resurrection of the Lord. It was too much light. It was too much life. So it just blossomed and gave life to the world again. And that is also what is going to happen in your marriage if you allow the Lord to resurrect in your marriage this Easter. We have 50 days of Easter to reflect on this reality. So again, in which concrete ways are we making that resurrection true for us this year? Let us take these days of Easter also to reflect that as a couple. How is the Lord allowing us to communicate better? How is the Lord allowing us to be merciful to each other? How is the Lord allowing us to forgive our mistakes, our miscommunications, how we have hurt each other? Third, talking about hurting each other, and it also was mentioned in our beautiful introduction by Mac and Jessica, the Lord never renounced to His wounds. He appeared in the resurrection, He appeared to the apostles with His wounds. And He showed them to Thomas, because Thomas needed to touch. He needed to put his hands, he needed to put his finger in the side of the Lord. And what does that mean? That none of us renounce to her or his wounds. We come with wounds because we are a wounded nature, because we have in our lives the brokenness of the original sin. And that is something that we cannot deny. We are not perfect. None of us, not Pope Francis, not any Pope, not any saint is perfect. But Jesus. So our wounds are part of our life because they make us who we are. Because of my wounds, I am compassionate. Because of my wounds, I can laugh, about my life and just say, this is who I am. Because I'm wounded, I can be also forgiving with my wife, with my husband, with other people, with my children. Because I am wounded, I can also understand other people's suffering. Because I am wounded, I can have more patience and tolerance. Because God has had so much patience with me. So never forget that those wounds are part of who we are. Because of those wounds in our past, because of those wounds in our people that has let us down, because of those wounds that many times make us suffer. Those are crosses that appear every single day. Because of those wounds, we are where we are today. We're married. We're together. We decided to be married in the church. We decided to bring a family together. So never hide those wounds. Recognize them, embrace them, and offer it up like a gift, spiritual gift for each other. And finally, we're at the marriage shrine, the shrine of Our Lady of Schoenstatt. And what does the Blessed Mother tell us? That there is a plan, that I have to trust even if I don't understand it. Think about Mary and what she lived in what we call the Holy Week. Think what the Holy Week was for her. Think what Lent was for the Blessed Mother, realizing that her son was going to Jerusalem and was probably going to be taken, incarcerated, and probably executed by the Roman Empire. So for her, she could see, she was an intelligent woman. She could see what was developing in the life of her son. So the plan that the angel had told her 33 years ago, it didn't make any sense. The Messiah, the Son of God, the King of Israel, and look what is happening. The apostles are all fleeing and going away. Nobody understood the words of my son. Nobody understood his message. He got in this trouble that I don't see any way out. But for her, she didn't hesitate for a second that the plan of God was going to make sense. That the plan of God was going to be victorious. That there would be a resurrection at the end of this. That there would be life. Even if she, as a humble woman, as a human being, couldn't understand it. And that is also an invitation for us. There is a plan for you. You didn't come together the moment that you fell in love and decided to start dating and then to get married. You became together when the Lord, in the eternal life, thought about you together. He thought about you as a couple. He thought about you as a family. He thought about you as a unity. A man and a woman that become one. Not only in flesh, but especially in soul. So that plan is eternal. And that plan is much bigger than you. That plan goes much further than our children or grandchildren or our house or our car. That plan is a plan that God has been meeting and preparing and building and bringing together from all eternity. So when we have difficulties understanding our plan, when we have a rough year and are doing renovations, when our children are going to school and we are suddenly empty nester and we didn't see that coming, when we are having a second children or a third children and our life seems, that we don't find time even to be together, the plan will make sense, not because we can figure it out, but because God thought this plan before we did. So when things get hard, think about how Mary lived the resurrection and trust. Repeat the creed, say the Hail Mary, go to adoration, go to daily mass, go to confession, but through the sacraments, through our faith, try to be renewed on the faith of Mary, knowing that she never hesitated, that plan would make sense because that plan was first created in the heart of God. So my dear friends, we hope here from everyone here at the Shrine that you can have an amazing morning of reflection together, that you can have a beautiful conversation together as a couple, that you can enjoy this place, the Shrine, the beautiful day that the Lord gave us today, but especially that you can allow the Lord's resurrection to become a reality in your marriage this Easter time. Thank you so much for being here today.